allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item, approval of the minutes for May 13th. Anybody have any changes to the minutes? Anybody?
No.
Make a motion to be approved?
I'll make the motion.
You make a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. First on the agenda is, let's see, Verizon. It's permit variance for a wireless, it's a temporary tower, and they want an extension. You are, sir?
Yes, good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Michael Sheridan. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Snyder LLP, the attorneys for New York SMSA Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless. As the chairman indicated, Verizon Wireless received a special permit to locate their facility on the tower at the property. However, the tower, as you're aware, is now being rebuilt, and Verizon still wants to go on that tower and request, however, an extension to a special permit for the temporary tower that they are currently located on until such time as the new tower is built and they can relocate on that tower.
How much time do you need?
We are asking for 1 year at this time.
Let me just give you a little history on, let me give a little history on this, because I don't think you've handled this before, have you? Usually Ms. Snyder handled it, I think, right?
She's been here, I think I was here way back for the original approval on the.
Okay, just a little history, so we're up to date. Let's see, November 9th of 2015, we gave Verizon a permit to co-locate on the existing WHUD tower. Okay. 2 years later, almost, they came back, Verizon. That would be in October of 2017. And they said they couldn't put it on there because the tower wasn't up to standard. I just find it amazing that all the expert engineers they got at Verizon, it took them 2 years to find out that they couldn't co-locate on this tower.
Well, I think, and I can't speak specifically, but I think during that time they were doing the structural reports and trying to determine if the existing tower could be repaired or if it had to, in fact, be replaced. And that is, as you know, a rather large tower and a rather large undertaking. So I think all efforts were put into determining whether the tower had to be replaced or if it could, in fact, be repaired as it was. And at that time, they determined that it was just better off to replace it, which is what they are currently doing. Again, it's not Verizon Wireless's tower. Verizon Wireless is merely a co-locator on the tower, so Verizon is not.
I understand.
Is not the one that's.
I would have thought they would have done that beforehand, but that's, see if you can put it on beforehand. But I understand. So they come back. Then we had a pre-application hearing, and at that hearing was Leslie Schneider, I think, Mr. Carduso, and WHUD. And she asked about the permit for the temporary tower. And they asked a permit for to put a new tower on next to the old tower, WHUD. I asked them, I said, how long do you think it's going to take you to build it? And they said, about 3 months. Well, I was up there 2 months ago, and they haven't even started. And I was up there a week ago, and still the same thing, there's nobody there. And the tower is laying on the ground, the pieces, but I don't see anything going on.
Again, it's not Verizon Wireless that's building the tower. I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. I can tell you the information I was given was that due to the extensive rains in the spring, they weren't able to put the anchors in that is going to hold the guy wires for the tower, and that they anticipate being able to do that and put up the tower they expect by early 2020 at this point, so a couple of months away, and then after that, the co-locators will be able to go on it sometime after that, which is why we're requesting a year extension, which would take us to October of 2020, which it's anticipated that would be enough time.
Well, when this came up, there was some concern on the board that it would turn this temporary tower into a permanent one. That's what we were trying to avoid.
Verizon Wireless doesn't want this temporary tower to
well,
be a permanent one.
Neither do we.
They want to be on the WHUD tower.
Neither do we.
Which
I just don't. I don't see any push here as far as on building the tower. That's what I'm trying to say. Every time I went up there was nobody there. I made 2 different trips, once 2 months ago and last week, and there was nobody there. And it concerns me. So I'm open for a 6-month extension, not 1 year, I'll tell you that right now. I'll ask the board how they feel about it.
I agree with you. I mean, this is 4 years in the making already, and now you're asking for another year. I'll
Well,
give you
I-
6 months, no more.
Well, again, it's not Verizon Wireless building the tower. It's WHUD. To give us 6 months is just going to mean that I'm going to be back here in 6 months potentially saying that WHUD hasn't finished the
I
tower.
might light a fire under somebody.
Oh, WHUD is your client also.
No, we're their client. We're locating on their tower.
Right, but
We're a co-locator on their
when
tower.
I went to the meeting, Mr. Gaudioso represented WHUD. So they are your client also.
Well, that's Mr. Godioso. That's not.
Oh, he's with your office, isn't he?
He does work in my office, but he's not part of who works on Verizon Wireless. He is separate from Verizon Wireless within our office.
Well, we spent 7 months with him.
Right.
Going through Verizon wires with a tower, but he doesn't represent Verizon, is that what you're saying?
No, you went through with Miss Leslie Snyder, represented
No,
Verizon
we went through
Wireless.
7 months of a cell tower with Gaudioso, and now you're telling me he doesn't represent Verizon?
Oh, not in this project. He doesn't represent.
Oh, not
Verizon
in this
Wireless
project?
Yeah.
Okay.
He-
Do you want us to
I
vote on,
believe-
do you want us to vote on a 1 year or 6 months?
I
Your
would-
choice.
Well, I don't understand why we can't be given a 1 year, and I'd be curious to say again, this isn't Verizon Wireless's tower. Verizon Wireless wants to be on this tower.
Right.
You're saying it's going to light a fire under them. We'll certainly let them know, but
Well-
if they don't do that, then you're punishing Verizon Wireless for something that they're not.
How
They
many
have
times you
no.
come in for an extension already?
This is the
Time.
first time.
Mister.
First?
Yes,
Um,
it's the first time.
Go ahead.
I mean, not that I don't normally side with corporations, but in this case, I don't see how Verizon can help, but, need a longer time because they're dependent on WHUD.
Correct.
So my feeling is I would go for the 1 year extension.
Okay.
You want to take anybody else, anything else to say? Okay, take a roll call vote on a 1 year extension. Mrs. Stone?
I move to grant, but I suggest to the board that we put a condition in there that we don't do any more extensions. We give them the year, but no more extensions.
Is that possible?
You can impose that as a condition,
Okay.
if the board chooses to do that. One thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention is the board granted the special permit already. If it were to expire and they were to reapply, just be mindful of the fact that for the board to reach a contrary decision after it once granted an approval, the board would need to prove to change circumstances in the community, in the area, that warranted the grant at one point in time, but a different result at a different point in time. So I'm just putting it out there to be mindful of, but you're entitled to impose that condition at this point in time.
Just so where it seems like if you impose that condition, saying that they would take it away, just so you know. So the temporary tower is there. Verizon Wireless is providing services from that temporary tower. What you would be doing is, if for some reason WHUD didn't come through and build that tower in time, is you'd be forcing Verizon Wireless to take down the temporary tower, which is all you'd be doing. So then Verizon would not be providing the services that they're currently providing to the community. So you'd be negatively impacting your community in an effort to get back at WHUD for not completing the tower by punishing Verizon Wireless, who is not the one constructing the tower.
Right.
So you'd be hurting your community by doing that, not.
Well, yeah, but we did give you a special permit to co-locate in November of 2015. In 2 years, you did nothing. You didn't give any service to the community in 2 years.
We couldn't go on the tower
Okay,
because
so,
there was
you
an
know-
issue with the tower, which is now being rectified by reconstructing that large radio tower.
But please don't try and say we're not giving service to the community when we gave you a permit and 2 years you did nothing.
We were trying to do something, but we couldn't get on the tower
But
because the
you
structure.
didn't accomplish it, did you?
We did by having them, WHUD, agree to rebuild the tower. it's an enormous project. That's what was being discussed during those 2 years, is whether the tower had to come down or whether Verizon Wireless could co-locate on the tower as it was. That's a large project that wasn't taken lightly. And what happened was it was determined that the tower would be taken down and that the entire tower would be rebuilt. And that's when we came to get the temporary tower so we could provide services, once we knew that the existing tower would no longer be there and it was being rebuilt.
I believe that if you were unable to have the temporary tower, that would affect the cell service in Continental Village, right?
It would affect the cell service that is provided by the temporary tower. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's,
That's the part of Philipstown which is located where the tower is.
yeah, and that is most likely the case, then, yes.
Yeah.
All right, what,
Well, one suggestion, I mean, is I don't think the board needs to decide whether to bind itself. If you grant an extension, that extension is going to have an expiration date. And then it's going to be up to the board at the time of that expiration date to decide whether to grant another one or not. I don't think you have to pre-bind yourself. I mean, I want to give you flexibility to go to say yay or nay,
Right.
so I'm just throwing it out there.
in the same way, we could also issue a 6 month.
Chairman,
Yeah, but
if you remember that 2015 application, I held out. I live in that neighborhood, and we have, the whole village is dead to Verizon. And I pushed to get Verizon to agree to improve service there from that tower. As of today, there's still dead spot, it's still dead in all the spots that we did before, so I'm not sure if they followed through on the agreement that they made to improve service. Because that, if you remember, that antenna was directed more towards Route 9 than it was to Continental Village. So I'm not happy about that because they didn't follow through on their promise.
Well,
And the antenna is mainly for, not for cell phones, but for data. Isn't that correct?
Well, it would be for all of it. It would be it would assist with data, it would assist with,
I think that the main focus was data. I actually think, my cell service has improved. And maybe it's, some spots improve and some.
Down at the lake, still down at the clubhouse.
Uh-huh.
My house has no service.
Oh, no.
And I'm right underneath
wow.
WHUD.
That's really
I have no service.
Yeah.
well,
But this is not the final
It's
facility.
up
It's
to-
just a temporary facility at this point. It's not the final facility that is up there.
well, we thought we were getting it 4 years ago, so you understand there's a little disappointment in some people's minds. They thought
I understand.
They thought
I
they could
think-
improve service in 2015.
I think Verizon Wireless is disappointed as well. This is
Yeah.
not the situation they wanted to be in. They wanted to be on that tower. That's what we applied for back in
Well-
2015.
As far as putting the contingent on about that, we wouldn't have to do that. I guess we could just either, we could do 6 months, we could do a year. I know he doesn't want to do 6 months, but it's not up to him. It's up to us. Or a year, what does the
But-
board feel?
If you only do 6 months, then that brings it to like winter time. And I don't know if they could be doing the work that they need to do in the winter time,
Well, they
right?
haven't been doing a great job
No,
so far.
I agree, but it's not really Verizon's fault. It's WHUD has to do the work, and they're dependent on that, so.
Correct.
Well, we'll take a roll call vote for the 1-year extension with no,
I stick by what I said before. 1 year on the, and then no extension after that.
so if you don't vote no extension, you're just voting no on the 1 year.
After this extension, I would vote no.
After this extension.
So,
So
I
how are
just-
you voting tonight?
I'm voting for it,
Okay.
but next time I probably won't.
Okay. Mr. Lynn?
I'll go along with Vinnie's. I'll vote for it now.
Okay.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
And I vote no. Okay, so it's 4-1, and you got your extension.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda is, what do we got here? East Mountain Road, 359 East Mountain Road. I guess that's yours, Mr. Watson? Okay.
Good evening, Glennon Watson for Daniel Schoblin and Mimi Fortunato, who are sitting right here. They own a 1.6 acre parcel on East Mountain Road. They applied this for site plan approval. And in the course of designing the site plan, we found an ideal place for the house, which if you went there, you would see that it reduces the amount of trees we have to cut. It reduces the grading. It's a much better, it's just physically a much better site, but it happens to be in the setback area. And we're applying for a variance to reduce the rear setback about 15 feet. We've submitted a package. We're hoping you'll find it complete and set it down for public hearing.
Is there any questions on the board on this application? Anybody have any questions right now?
Yeah, I do. I noticed that the house is 897 square feet. Is that right?
It's the 1,600 two-story.
It's two-story.
Oh, it's two-story. Oh, okay, because I was wondering why would you would be wanting to build such a tiny house. Yeah, okay. All right, well, that's,
Well, everything is here. I guess you said in your application it could be moved west, would take more excavation?
Yeah, it would take
What
more
kind of-
land disturbance and excavation if we were to move it actually closer to the road and further from the back line.
What would it take for you not to need the variance? I mean, to put that house there and with no variance? Could you do it?
It could be done, yes. We think that it would be unfortunate for the land. We think it would be unfortunate for the site. We think we have a much better place, and we'd like you to consider that place. I would encourage you to take I know it's not I don't know if it's your custom, but I would encourage you to make a site visit. And I'd be happy to, the proposed house is staked out, and when you get there, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I always go and take a look at it, at the
Okay,
location.
good.
So it's good. All right, thank you. Any other questions, anybody, or any concerns? Okay, at this, can we get a motion that the application is complete?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, they'll set you down for a public hearing for September 9th.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay, next order of business is Ricky and Mark Ventura, 1 Lane Great Road. We got a letter from the attorney at the first month we had it 2 months ago. He said he was out of town, and this time he's out of the country. So at this point in time, there's a couple of legal issues I have here. I'd like to have the board take a few minutes to go into executive session to discuss them. Please, downstairs. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Board is back in session. On this application, Ventura at 1 Lane Gate Road, we've already given him 2 delays, two different dates he hasn't been able to show up for different reasons. We're going to give him a third one. That'll be August 5th, 7:30, August 5th, to show up, to come here and to explain his application, and we're going to see if it's complete. If he doesn't show up or he's unable to attend it or anything like that, because of not showing up for the third time or like that, this application will be dismissed. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we just have that on the agenda, since it's a special meeting that we normally don't meet?
Yeah, we normally don't meet in August. This is a special meeting.
Okay.
Just that. That's all. That's the only one we do, because we already put the other gentleman down for September. There'll be no one else. Just that. It'll be a special meeting, because usually everybody's on vacation in August.
That's the first Monday?
First Monday, yes, correct. Okay. Let's see, that takes care of that. Old business. I attended a town board meeting last Wednesday. The topic was the cell tower at 50 Vineyard Road. We're all familiar with that one. Supervisor Shea has reached a settlement with Homeland Towers to build a 120-foot tower at the original site. That's the first one, the first site.
What was the original height they wanted, 180?
180, right.
180?
And this agreement is
Going down to 120?
down to 120. At that meeting, the attorney who's representing a number of residents who live in the area asked several questions which Supervisor Shea wanted the town attorney to answer. This is the town attorney who's handling that. He's a different attorney. And his wife had a baby that day, so he had a good reason for not showing up. Okay, so they said they were going to change it to either this Wednesday or next Wednesday. But as of yet, I haven't gotten any date. Has anybody gotten any date on it? So that's what they said. They said they're going to have the meeting either this Wednesday or the Wednesday after. So I guess you're going to have to check with the town to see when that meeting is, okay? But
Can I ask you something?
I just want to say one thing
Oh, okay.
before you ask me. After the zoning board held 7 months of public meetings, we listened to countless hours of testimony from attorneys, experts, and residents. We observed 5 balloon tests, read thousands of pages of documents and reports and testimony. And then we came to a decision, which I believe was the correct one. I just want to thank all the board members for their work they put into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. New business.
Can
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, the settlement that,
I haven't signed it yet.
it's not signed, so it's not final, right?
Well, Shay's asking for the permission to sign it, yeah. He's asking for the other board members to give him the authorization to
Okay,
sign
but
it.
it's not, but
It's not
he has-
signed at this time, no.
Okay.
No, it's not. Okay? Under new business, is there Mr. Spencer here? Shay Spencer, okay, will you come up here, please? Mr. Spencer called me, got in touch with me the day after business was closed for the meeting. And normally we don't meet in August, so I told him I would give him a few minutes to explain his issue. And I don't know whether it's a zoning, I'm not sure if it's a zoning or planning issue, but I told him I would give him a few minutes to explain. Go ahead, Mr. Shea.
May I hand out the?
Yes, you can hand out. That's your first presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. One for the attorney? Okay.
So, yeah, I won't take up much of your time. It's pretty much the exact same issue of the Ventura case. It's nearly the same thing, except in a sort of worse zoning conditions, where this property here is not zoned for what it's doing, and it's 100% surrounded by residential areas.
Where is the property?
The property is at South Mountain Pass in Route 90.
9D.
Yes,
Okay, by Manitoba Road down there?
exactly.
Just before it crosses into Cortland.
That's Bohemus? Bohemus?
It's Paulhamus property,
Okay.
correct, yeah. And it somehow slid under the radar, but as you see from the supplemental documents provided that include various board meetings over the years, the issue was well covered and all of the objections were there, and then somehow it just ended up happening anyway. Somebody just started doing it and nobody complained or realized it, and we did our homework and realized it's just simply not zoned for that, and for the exact same reason that the stop order was issued on the Ventura property, that you can't do what they're doing in that area, we're seeking the exact same thing.
Right.
That's
I
it.
noticed that, in the stop order, it says here, that was issued on Ventura property, it says, this is from the Code Enforcement Officer. Please be advised that the Code of Philipstown, Section 175-50B, prohibits the processing of soil, dirt, gravel, and rock, including rock crushing in all zoning districts south of the intersection of East Mountain Road and south and Route 9. So you're
Correct.
in that, so you're south of that.
Well within
So you're
that.
saying that they're doing that in violation of this, is that what you're?
Exactly correct, yeah, and amongst other things, yeah. And we have a video,
This, to the
175.
attention of the code enforcement officer?
I'm here. I'm not sure, like, I'd love to land this in the right area. if
Like, that's
that
what
could be-
that's what I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, just, I don't mean to
Please.
be,
No.
curt, but at this juncture, the forum, this is not the forum You're voicing an objection to the use of a particular property in the town of Philipstown, correct? We're an appellate body. We hear appeals from the code enforcement official.
Okay.
I mean, just to cut right to the chase, if you have an issue and you think that a particular property is being put to a use that doesn't conform with the zoning ordinance, please take that up with the code enforcement official. We're an appellate body. We're not an enforcement body. And we we're powerless to act on your request at this point in time. And
I have made the issue known, you know, I documented all the various steps I had, and just nothing happened.
Yes, you need to go to
but-
the code enforcement official of the town. We're an appellate body.
Sure.
There's nothing,
Okay.
we can't give you an advisory opinion.
Sure.
We don't want to be rude.
No problem.
And there's no appeal before us. There's no decision that requires a determination or an interpretation. So there's nothing for the board to do on that. I mean, otherwise, we would be.
A code enforcement officer?
They've been made aware of it over the time, and just nothing's happened, so wasn't sure what to do next.
You've been in this building, in the office of the code enforcement
No,
officer?
not in the office of the court. We notified them.
Not in this building.
No,
The-
Oh,
The
okay.
building
They
behind. No, I
moved,
haven't been
right.
in that building. I was in last week to
Yeah,
pick
yeah,
up
yeah.
paperwork
Sorry.
for this procedure.
used to be
but-
in this
I would say probably file official complaint. You know,
Okay.
go back there and just file official complaint with him.
Great.
And I guess if there's a stop order thing, that would be up to him, you know.
Sure. Understood.
Okay, but we have your thing. We have.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right. Okay, any other business?
Second.
I'm sorry,
Any other business?
Any other business?
No? No? Okay, adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.